the Foundation Board of Directors 4 years. We have been in existence since 1939. And no, I am not a founding member, although I feel old enough to date because I had my second COVID vaccine yesterday late in the evening. But Reverend Victor, I will not surrender to fatigue. I will press on. Okay.
Amen.
Two predecessors to the Cal-Pac United Methodist Foundation, the Hugh Holding Company and Southern California, Arizona Annual Conference of the Methodist Church, laid the foundation for what became the foundation. And my home church, Holman United Methodist Church, has deposited funds. We deposited our permanent endowment funds with the foundation in 2012. We are very satisfied with the foundation's stewardship, and I am honored to serve on the foundation's investment and grants committees. And we're delighted to have about $165,000 available for scholarship and ministry grant programs for this year. And so we invite you to go online to learn about them and to actually get information and applications. They're accessible on the conference website. We have grants for urban ministry, programs focusing on children, and local church program ministries. And we have children's ministry programs, children of Latinx community, children under 10, and at-risk children. We have youth ministry funds, local church annual conference grants, at-risk youth programs, at-risk foster care programs for those kids who have termed out or aged out of foster care. And we have senior adult ministry programs, ministry for persons 65 years of age and older. We also have funds for international work teams, and this is for foreign mission work that work outside of the United States. We have clergy continuing education, so support for continuing education for deacons and elders in full connection. We have church growth and evangelism funds available. We have funds for first and second year seminary students. We're really excited about that. And we have a Lois Balsley Scholarship program. And this is to support undergraduate education. And our priority is for Torrance United Methodist Church because Lois Balsley attended Torrance and she requested that Torrance have priority. We always like to, we try to honor the donors' intent and their requests. The deadlines for these applications, Lois Balsley would be April 16th, and the other grant applications are due April 30th. Notifications will be given the end of May and funds distributed after the 1st of June. We are especially excited about the managers that we have. They've been doing an excellent job leading us through this period of COVID and also the political unrest. And we have not been disappointed with their leadership and their guidance. And we are most especially delighted to have John Woodall at the helm because this foundation has grown exponentially since John joined us. And so I turn it back over to John.
Well, thanks so much, Ann. Does everybody see a PowerPoint presentation in front of you?
Yes.
And we will jump into this, go through it quickly, and hopefully save plenty of time for any questions that you might have today. Just to simply put in forward to you our mission and our vision as a foundation, if I had to sum it up, we are here to partner with you. The only reason our foundation exists is to be supporting local churches and church-related ministries to pull together financial resources in order to do the critically important work that you do. If it were not for you, there would be no reason for the foundation to exist, right, Ann?
Sure.
So that's the one thing I just really want to emphasize from the beginning, and that we really see as our vision to help you to create this culture of generosity that's so essential in our churches and ministries where we are fully integrating our faith and the resources that we have access to. One thing to let you know right from the beginning is that the foundation is a separate 501c3 nonprofit entity. We are a separate corporation from the annual conference, And that's something a lot of people don't understand. The conference does not support the foundation other than through its investment, but we are not employees of the conference. We are employees of the foundation who in turn do our work for you. And that's been a question that people have had, is that when they invest with the foundation, does that mean that that's becoming part of the holdings of the annual conference? No, it's not. Our relationship is with you, the local church, or with the particular ministry that we've been asked to serve. Here's who we are. We are a small staff of 3 of us, Nia Bailey and Daniel Nine and myself. Nia and Daniel, some of you may already know, bring a wealth of background and experience to what we do. And one of the things I really want to say is our emphasis is on customer service. There is always someone on the other end of the email or the telephone. We exist to provide you the service you need. And as far as the foundation's board of directors go, everybody that's on our board of directors are members of local United Methodist churches. And as it stands right now, all of them are having investments with the foundation. So they've got a vested interest, so to speak, in what's going on. It's a great group of people that we work with. The board of directors meets on a quarterly basis. So to get into some of the brass tacks of what it is we offer, one of our primary tasks is to provide professionally managed investment funds. For many years, the foundation only offered one fund, our growth fund. Last year, we were able to expand our offerings to now have a near-term fund and a growth plus fund, which we'll talk a little bit more about. But that's one of the primary things we do, is act as a place where local churches and ministries have someone to work for them to invest their money. The next thing, and one of the questions that came up, is we're really there to help entities understand how endowments can make a long-term difference for what you're able to do. And I'm going to talk about those a little more specifically right after this slide of the things that we can offer to you with regard to endowment. We are also licensed to do planned giving for churches, that if you have individuals who are interested in charitable gift annuities or unit trusts or donor advised funds, these are things that we're licensed to do in California and Hawaii that can help benefit your congregation or your particular ministry. Planned giving programs are the backbone of many nonprofit organizations, and we're here to tell you that that's something that we can assist you with if you have interest in planned giving programs. But let's first talk specifically about endowments, because I know people wanted more information. So what can we do? Well, first of all, I can offer consultation with you, where I can meet with your teams to determine how endowments might help your needs if you've got a situation where endowment is a possibility, and what does endowment look like in the context of revenue streams to help support ministry in the church. The other thing that I can do is to provide training for how you can go about soliciting funds for endowments, as well as how you manage those endowments through your gift acceptance, your investment, and your spending policies. It's really critically important that these practices are in place if endowment is going to make a difference in what's happening in your church or your ministry. And then obviously with endowments, it's important to have investment possibilities. And that's what our 3 funds are there for, is to help you with your investment, depending on the length of time you expect to have money invested. I have been doing a lot of Zoom meetings with finance committees and boards of directors at churches and church councils over the last year. So there's nothing to prevent us from getting together. And I've also done a lot of consultations just with pastors or interested laity from the congregations. So we're there, and I'm happy to do that. And obviously we do this at a variety of times, including Sunday afternoon. So really the beauty of the Zoom platform is we can get to you whenever perhaps it is you need it. So to delve a little bit more into the investment angle of what we do, so you understand our philosophies around investment, we're committed to socially responsible investment, which means there are certain things in which we will not invest. We offer what are called actively managed funds. All 3 of our funds have fund managers that are working on them on an everyday basis. These are not fixed funds where they're created and they just sit there to do whatever they're going to do. Our managers are paying close attention to what happens with each of these three funds. The other thing I want to emphasize is that a foundation, we are really committed to the idea of long-term investment, because from our vantage point, investment is a long-term proposition, especially if you're interested in endowment. That's not something that's just for a year or two. That's long-term, and that's one of the things that we teach in our educational processes. Just so you know, we currently manage over 360 accounts, and we have $74 million that the foundation is responsible for managing at this point in time, plus charitable gift annuities and unit trusts. And we do the charitable gift annuities for Methodist Hospital and also some of them for the School of Theology. So that's some about our investment policy. How are the funds managed? We have an investment committee of which Ann is a part. They meet on a quarterly basis with our fund managers, and they're constantly looking at these funds to say, are they in alignment with our investment policies and practices? So it comes under the eagle eye of the board on a quarterly basis. And the thing I will say about our meetings, they are open to anyone who invests with the foundation. You are welcome to participate in the investment committee meetings. And we occasionally have people who want to be there just to see who the fund managers are and learn a bit more about what's going on. The other thing I would let you know is that on a week-to-week basis, I am in contact with our two primary managers at the Merrill Lynch group that we work with. We've had a relationship with them now for close to 35 years. Every 4 or 5 years or so, we put out a request for proposal to see if we might be better served working with another firm. But what the board of directors has continued to affirm is that this group is doing an excellent job for us, and we're really pleased with how they are managing our monies. So to let you know a little bit about the offerings, one of our newer funds is near term. This is really designed for short-term investment, and it is much lower risk than one of the other funds. And as you can see, it is 80% of that is in fixed income securities and investment grade corporate debt. Only 20% of that is in equities and other things that we use to diversify. Our gold standard fund, which I would call it, is our growth fund, which is the one we have been offering for several decades. This is what we would call a medium risk investment. 65% of it is in stocks, equities, 35% of it is in other securities. And then we've also got a new fund, which is a more aggressive fund, especially for those people that are interested in really long-term investment. It's Growth Plus. 80% of this is invested in stocks. 20% of it is in securities and other diversifying assets that we would use. So basically, as you can see here, near term is the lowest risk. Growth Plus is the highest risk. And you can see how things change from each of these. So gives you a little bit more about the three funds you've got. If you're interested in more specific information about stock holdings or things like that, or who the individual managers are, that's information that we can certainly provide you and that we have available to you. Of course, the big question people have is, how are these funds performing? So first of all, in 2020, which was a pretty wacky year for all of us, our near term performed at 8.4%, our growth at 15.13%, and our growth plus at 14.43%. When most people are looking to say that they hope on their endowment that they can do a 5% distribution, we met that goal with every single one of our funds last year. And so that was really encouraging, especially given how the stock market tumbled during the first 2 quarters of 2020. And here's how we've been stacking up over the last several years. In particular, in 2019, we had a real banner year for stuff that was going on. Our growth fund earned over 22% that year. And so for people that were invested, their investments did quite well. So that's our fund performance, so you see that. Now, of course, one of the questions is if you're investing, are there fees? There are fees, and there are only 2 fees that are paid. We have no hidden fees. We are very transparent. These are talked about in terms of basis points. And just so you understand, a basis point is 1/100%, but that's usually the terminology that's used in investment. And so you can see right here what the basis point charges are. Merrill charges us a consistent 62 basis points for all of the investing they do for us. The numbers that I showed you on the previous screen were net the Merrill expenses. The numbers over here are the actual administrative fees that you will pay to the foundation. And these are on an annual basis that these are paid. And why do we charge? Because this is the only way the foundation earns any revenue to keep our office going and to do this work for you. It is for the administration fees that are charged. We are extremely competitive with many other opportunities for how one might invest their money. And the thing I will tell you is, in our particular case, there are no transaction fees. There are no fees when you request disbursement. And there are no fees for the education and the training that we provide. When you invest with us, that's one of the things, is you get us as a partner to help do the training and everything. So we don't have any billable hours for anything like that. So that's the fees. They're very straightforward. They are very transparent. And also to talk a little bit more about what we offer that Ann did mention to you, the ministry grants. If you want more information on those, simply go to our Cal-Pac website, www.cpumf.org, and you'll get all the information that you need there. So that, in a nutshell, is what we provide. And I would be more than happy at this point in time to answer questions that you might have. Or I may have Ann answer the questions.
All right, thank you so much. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much for the presentation and the information. Just so everyone can know, this meeting was part of an invite as an extension of an Ebony Prophets meeting, a Black clergy meeting that we had at the beginning of first Friday in February, where we're exploring creative ways we can be stewards of our resources, better stewards of our resources and our assets through our local churches. And so some ideas emerged. And so we felt it was important to expand the discussion to the body itself. So I know one of the questions before we open it up to others that came from that time was Reverend Woodall, from your time as pastor of Westwood.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a question of, well, how do churches use endowment funds, right? Why would a church need an endowment? Why would a church, what help does it do? Can it do? And so from your experience as a pastor, and then also Sister Lloyd, you talked about the permanent endowment at Holman. How can an endowment help support the ministries and the programming of a local church?
I was the senior minister at Westwood for 13 years, and we had a situation at Westwood, which is not unique to Westwood, but we have a beautiful set of buildings from 1923 through 1951 that cost a lot of money to operate, to keep them in good condition. In fact, we were finding that the buildings and grounds expenses soaked up almost 40% of our operating budget every year. And this is a real burden to be saddled with, as many of our churches are, because so many of us find ourselves in facilities that were built for a different day and age, a different congregation with many more people, many more giving units. And what I have found is, I've looked across the conference that there are large numbers of what I would call very vital congregations who are saddled with buildings and grounds expenses. So one of the things we chose to do at Westwood is, what is the work that we can do to build a permanent endowment to cover the cost of buildings and grounds? And through some very creative work with land leases, with some land that we owned, a parking lot in particular, we are essentially able to create an endowment that covers buildings and grounds, the utilities, all the salaries, and everything involved with that, as well as pastoral salaries that are, associated with trustees' works and things like that. It covered it 100%. So that meant when we were doing our information on our annual campaign and our regular giving campaigns, I could honestly go to the congregation and say, 100% of your money goes to mission and ministry, because the expenses of the buildings are taken care of. And that really becomes a very creative force in the life of a church or a ministry when you can see something significant taken care of like that. That's only one example. Other churches have had specific age level ministries that are endowed, or churches have had music programs endowed, or particular community service projects that they do. The one thing about endowment is it can ensure that there's going to be a consistent stream of income. And it also gives members of your congregations who have vision for the future a way to participate in that future ministry, even when they are, as we say, part of the church triumphant and are no longer standing with us on day to day. But for many people, that idea of being able to be part of a bigger vision that's going to live well beyond me is something that they want to do. So that's just some example of what can be done with endowment.
Holman's Permanent Endowment Committee provides scholarships. They fund special programs and projects that the church may have. We'll consider any requests pretty much from the church. However, we do not fund operational expenses. So we're looking to the church to be creative, and we consider those requests.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Are there any other, just a little bit more time. Do we have any other questions from anyone?
Hi, this is Kim. This is more of a comment. I actually reached out to Mr. Woodall a few months ago when I was completing my trust. And so I did find him to be extremely helpful with some of the language and being able to kind of in a very clear and succinct way help me so that, when I, pass on after I reach 120 or 150, that the intent of that it would be met. So, even, if a church isn't in a position, I would certainly encourage this as something that members individually would want to look at as well. So I just wanted to share that my experience was really good and he was extremely helpful.
It's good to see a face, Kimberly, and instead of just a voice.
So I wanted to add that one of the things that we talked about at our last meeting was that our president, CEO, and our leader of the board are available because of their skills to assist churches in their application for PPE funds, take them through that process. So a lot of resources available to churches through the foundation.
Well, it's 2:30 now, so I promise you 30 minutes. So I don't want to go. I don't want to go over 30. I do see a hand raised. One hand raised. I don't want to leave anyone.
Yeah. This is Melissa Arnold from Inglewood. I had one question, because I'm like a big pictures kind of person sometimes. And what is the taxation situation that a church would need to look forward to if they set up an endowment fund?
When you've set up an endowment fund, you don't have any tax implications with regard to that. What you need to do is you need to view this as any financial asset that you have at the church. You're just choosing to use the foundation as a way to invest it. The money still belongs to you. It does not belong to us. We are simply acting on your behalf. And are doing a better job than if you had a CD or a money market account, we're hoping. So, and I don't mean that to be funny, but that really is the situation. It is still your money. And so view it that way. It's not going to have an implication with regard to taxation. And one of the things to know is that our nonprofit status as religious entities puts us in a different situation with regard to monies we have invested. We are not responsible to do what's called 990 reporting to the IRS the way other nonprofit entities are done. So that is one of the things that we fit under the umbrella of religious entity, and you in a local church have that. And that's why you on a regular basis are not having to report to the IRS what's happening with your investments. Other nonprofit entities have to file a 990 report every year. And trust me, that's not something any of us want to have to do.
Oh, I've had to look up the information for it and, report on people who earn more than 100,000 a year.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you for that question. And thank you so much to you both of our presenters. We will have continued discussion, as a caucus internally. And of course, we'll follow up with, other questions as they emerge from the caucus, but also from individuals, in local churches as well. But we do want to move forward with our agenda. And thank you for your time. So if you want to excuse yourself, you may.
Hey, thanks for the enjoy the rest of your meeting today.
All right, thank you.
Enjoy.
Hey, can I ask a question real quick? Is the Ruth that I see on the screen, Ruth Conley? We worked on district youth ministry projects back on the old Los Angeles district forever ago.
Years ago. I didn't think he would remember me, John.
Of course I do, Ruth. I did youth ministry for 23 years. It's not something you forget.
I know. It's wonderful to see you.
Good to see you too. All right, everybody, you take care.
Amen.
Bye.
Bless you.
Bye.